Hello, so I've got this strange French tank helmet on for today's stream, and let's hope it sends out notifications. So a bit like the Soviet tank helmet back there, it's a very similar thing, except this doesn't have headphones or a microphone built into it. But sort of, tank armored fighting vehicle crewman's sort of helmet hat. So it's designed, obviously, to stop you smashing your head in on bits of metal. So yeah, it covers obviously all of the top bit of the skull and then leaves the side bits of the ears free, the lower bit of the neck and the face. So yeah, there we go. So good thing is people are coming on, so that means obviously YouTube did send out a notification today. Don't forget to click like on the stream because that helps me out. And if you want to support me, you can either donate via Super Chat, donate via Patreon, or buy the theme merchandise from the Teespring link below. So yeah, I've got a video upcoming on this, but that's all right, random sod. Yeah, just at the moment, it's been a case of there's been quite a few different helmets turning up on eBay for sensible prices again. Or in general, that's not always the case, but recently, it's just been the thing of they've been sensibly priced, so I've got them. Not very heavy, I would guess maybe 500 grams to a kilo. I've got a Twitter, but I never really check it. It's because I used to use Twitter so it would automatically share YouTube videos when I made them. And then YouTube had a falling out with Twitter, and they no longer do that with Twitter, so I don't really use it. When you say MREs, are you on about meals ready to eat as in military rations? I've got no interest in those. How much helmets? How many helmets do I have? That's an interesting thing. I'd actually have to count them up because I'm not entirely sure. Because I've got quite a few more recently, so I have a lot more than I used to have, but I haven't tallied them up in a while. I'll do an updated helmet collection video at some point because I've got a lot more than I used to have. I'm not sure when I'll do it, not a list, but I will film it at some point. But I might see if Bart's free to help me film that at some point of that nice camera he's got, which we did for the top 10 scary gas mask one, where you can actually put like the coloured filters over the lens. That's interesting. You're having the same problem CMK41 as Laserpoint had with his. So I guess you've got one FP5 filter that's been made properly, and then the other one, for whatever reason, hasn't been. So I wouldn't force it if that one doesn't fit. All right, glad you enjoyed the videos. Give it a wash without the filter on it. But other than that, not really. It's a good mask, pretty durable. All right, Richard. So just to prove this works, as much as it might be a silly thing to do. There you go. Works. So, yeah, it's basically, these are a bit like bump caps where, I mean, that is the literal exact purpose for it, is to stop you bumping your head inside a tank. But I thought this was quite an interesting looking one because it's sort of that green looking leather rather than being sort of, an all-round face one like the Soviet ones. It's strange. I don't know why CMK, but I mean, yeah, if it's only a bit of paint wearing off, then it's probably all right to force it, and like you said, put an O-ring in it. But if it's one where it really doesn't want to fit, then I wouldn't bother. But strange. No, I'll get one at some point because whenever I've looked at those, they've again just been very expensive. But yeah, all right. See you in 10 minutes then, Rich, if that's when you're coming on properly. But yeah, as for British tank helmets, like the more modern British tank helmets are more like actual fiberglass kind of helmets, and the same with the modern French ones, but I kind of like the retro-looking tank helmets a bit more. Wow, I'd put a camo NBC suit on because it's a bit pointless wearing camo underneath an NBC suit, or, with most NBC suits, you wouldn't fit camo over the top. If I had a camo NBC suit on the gas mask, and then some body armor, I could run around for a bit. It depends how far, but remember, if I pick it up properly, I am asthmatic anyway. I assume you can hear me because the microphone has done that annoying thing again where it's not showing me any audio levels. But yeah, because I'm asthmatic, I do need to... What era is it from? I assume this is somewhere between the 1960s and 80s. Because France now, like I was saying, uses like the kind of fiberglassy kind of, like proper tank helmets, like vehicle crewman helmets. But this was back in the period where most people did like the leather or fabric ones. What's Fine T, the gas mask? All right, okay, it's just YouTube being annoying where they've got a volume indicator thing, but off half the time it never works. Yeah, you could just always screw a hose in, like you just said, and then screw that filter into the bottom of the hose. All right, have a nice sleep. But yeah, recently, I don't know, I've been having a lot of issues sleeping properly. I don't know why, but just, it's one of those annoying things where sometimes you can feel tired but not even get to sleep properly. The thing is, I don't know if I have proper insomnia or if it's just other stuff bringing it on, because with some of the medication I'm on, I know a load of those are meant to cause insomnia or sleeping difficulties, so I imagine anything that's annoying me is this is pushing my glasses slightly to one side. Is that fixed now? What's an electric panoramic gas mask? I know obviously what a panoramic gas mask is. Do you mean one with an electric air pump? Because I've got a DIY electric air pump for filters. Because I've seen the ones that are like a panoramic face thing and they've got the filters on top and it pulls the air in from that, if that's what you mean. Oh, that's interesting, Chris. I didn't know that. But yeah, it would make sense, I suppose, wouldn't it? Because if anything penetrates the tank, it gives you a bit more survivability. Yeah, that would make sense. But yeah, that's what I'm saying. This is obviously not a current gen one, I'd imagine. It's probably, I'd imagine, 1960s to 80s sort of period. Most horrible disease. Probably something that kills you slowly and horrifically. But off the top of my head, I can't really think. Ebola, maybe. I've actually got chamomile tea and all that Red 92, and I find most of the time it doesn't help me sleep. It's nice enough tea, but I don't find it helps me sleep at all. I did read your thing. Ivan, I answered you and you didn't answer me back. But a helmet's just on eBay. Type in French tank helmet and you'll find loads. I've never seen a horror film where somebody wears a hat like this, to be honest. To me, it reminds me a lot of the kind of like rugby or American football helmets. Not like the full-on, like ones with the grates over the face, like riot helmets, but the ones that are, like leather ones for impacts. Yeah, that's another good point, Chris. Yeah, if they had to bail out, then it protects them a bit from small arms fire or shrapnel. In theory, you can put an FP5 on a PDF fine, but again, it depends because, as we were saying, it seems some FP5 filters just randomly won't fit on GOST threads. Yeah, I can see that. They're pretty similar things, the old flying helmets to some of the old tank helmets. I think, again, probably the function was just to keep the head warm and stop you bumping it as easily. Well, not that you wouldn't bump your head, it's just it will do less damage when you bump your head. Because, it's got a filler material in it. What do you mean by innate filters? Filters that don't work? Because as far as I'm aware, you kind of want a filter that works because obviously, you want one. Or do you mean like replica style filters? Because as I said before, the only thing I know of as in a replica filter is getting something like those Chinese refillable filters, opening them, pouring the contents in the bin, and then resealing them. If you're looking at that one where my hand is now, that mask, that is an awful Chinese half-face respirator with goggles that you can put on separately. A while ago, there was a lot of Finnish M39s on eBay. I don't know if there still is, but... Oh, in-date usable. So actual functioning filters. Oh, I see what you mean, rather than in-date filters. You can get them on eBay. I would suggest go on Amazon or eBay, and rather than type in like NBC filter or anything like that, type in RD40 filter, And then generally you can sometimes find companies that sell filters for industrial use. I've done a video showing it. I'll show it again in another video, because what I'll do is I want to do a video of all my half-face respirators and go over which ones are good and which are bad, and that's obviously going to be one of the bad ones. But saying about Chinese filters, I've actually ordered a Chinese coffee can because they're finally starting to turn up on eBay again. But like the modern ones, so they're perfectly safe because they use paper heaters or whatever in them. But it should be good because it means if I want a coffee can filter on a mask, I can actually do it with a safe one. You know, a GP5 is perfectly fine, but it's not an outstanding mask by any degree. But, you know, it was the world's most mass-produced mask, so it does have that going for it. It's good enough for what it was designed for, a mask for civilians, but in no way is it the best mask ever. But yeah, it always does surprise me how good some of these caps are at, you know, stopping impacts. I'd say this one is actually better than the Russian one. Not so much for the sides, because obviously it doesn't have comms equipment built in like that Russian one. But in terms of the padding, I'd say this is actually better, and it's more comfortable. So if I had to choose between an M40, Yugoslavian M2, or a PMK2, well, I don't have a PMK2, so I can't really comment on how good or bad they are. The M40 I like, but the Yugoslavian M2 is really nice. But again, it depends on the price, because over here, technically, the M40 would be the most expensive, so if you could get them all for the same price, the M40 would be the best one for that price. But if you can get a Yugoslavian M2 quite cheaply, I'd say go for that. Yeah, I'll show the inside. Right. So I'll just take this strap off, because basically it just straps up there with a bit of Velcro. So, right. That's the inside. It has a thing you can take out. I'm not going to take it fully out. And this is just, you know, like a Velcro liner. And then that obviously just sits on there. I assume it's just so you can wash the Velcro liner without washing the rest of the cap, if, you know, you've got it sweaty or dirty. But otherwise, it's just a bland sort of, you know, fabric thing. Also, I suppose that keeps your head slightly away from the top, you know, like helmet liners. So actually, if I pull this bit down a bit, that will probably stretch it, won't it? Yeah, there we go. So yeah, that's another purpose of that, is it stops it, you know, your head has a bit more cushioning because of that being on there. For actual protection, I'd say whichever's the newest one out of the dates on it. But the Yugoslav M2 I do think is genuinely quite good, or Serbian M2, because it is basically an M9 just made down to a 40mm size without such a big nose. Yeah, I might try and get more tank helmets. It's just they're one of the weird things that never seem to turn up on eBay very much, or at least not good prices, because I've had that Soviet East German one for absolutely ages. But unfortunately, it's got the fake leather stuff on it that keeps literally falling off all the time. So if you touch it, you end up, you know, like taking a load of the leather off with your hand. No, I'm not in the army. I'm medically unfit to serve even if I wanted to, unless they started really relaxing the laws on it because they want to actually get more people to join up again. Because the weird thing of the army is they keep complaining they can't get enough people to be recruited, but they keep doing all these things saying if you have certain conditions, you're not allowed to join. And I could certainly understand it for, you know, not endangering your safety or the safety of other people. But really, if they keep making the, you know, requirements stricter and stricter to get in and then going, but why does nobody join the army anymore? It should be quite obvious. But, well, yeah, the Kalashnikov's one of the world's most mass-produced firearms, so it's not really overrated in that sense. If you haven't got much budget and you want to give everybody an automatic rifle, you can kind of accomplish that with a Kalashnikov. A polished Ossia? What? Have you just spelt something wrong? Oh. Polished officer, maybe? I have no idea. Apparently not, though, Chris, because autism is one of the things that literally strikes you straight off. Ulcerative colitis does. Asthma, I think, is one where if you've been free of symptoms for a certain amount of years, you can technically be eligible. But, you know, it's one of those things. But the good thing is tonight, at least, everybody in the chat seems to be having a proper chat. Yesterday was one of those streams that really pissed me off, just because there were so many people just bringing up really weird things constantly. But yeah, I'm all right, Ricky. So I've got the weird French tank helmet on, but it's surprisingly comfortable. The only annoying thing with this is trying to get earmuffs to fit with it, because when I tested it, my noise-cancelling headphones, they're not quite big enough to fit over the side properly, like that, and they won't fit on the inside of it properly. I think if I turn these at an angle like that, you can just about get them on, but it's kind of annoying because I was hoping that these might go over it properly. The problem is my immune system is too good, so it attacks my own body. But yeah, it's an autoimmune disease. I've got both the Avon M50 and the S10. I mean, the M50 is a newer, more modern mask, but bear in mind the M50 uses proprietary filters. For a lot of people, the C50 is probably better because it's basically the M50 face piece that you can put 40mm filters on. So yeah, as I said, the M50 is technically a better mask, but the S10 uses a filter that most people would want to use. Yeah, I'm all right, Waste Alona. As the streams, we've been having a good chat so far, and I'm feeling a lot better now because, like I said, I was wondering if I wanted to bother streaming tonight, because last night it was just one of those chats where loads of people kept bringing up weird politics stuff and arguing with each other. That's interesting, Benzie. So what sort of stuff's in the psychological tests? Yeah, I imagine, though, a lot of these were probably designed so you could put the headphones in separately. Because I'm assuming what the French did at some point is either take out the bit there with the headphones, or they, like put them on afterwards. And it might have been when they sold these on a surplus, they took all the headphones off and all that, and then just sold the actual bits without the headphones. Or as in like the Jacobite Rebellion. I might do a political stream on Halloween for a spooky political stream, because that's meant to be Brexit Day, and who knows if it will happen or not. The thing is, I don't mind every now and again doing a politics stream so people can actually argue politely about politics on a politics stream. The thing I don't like is when obviously people just keep bringing up politics on random streams and trying to argue, oh, you should have voted for this person, you should have voted for that person. No, they must have had an air defender, though, I think, on one side, because you basically need air defenders if you're in a tank. Well, they're not. They're lost. They're Nautilus, isn't it? Now, which one's Culloden? Because I'm getting Flodden and Clodden confused. Because there's the one that's like the medieval one, wasn't there, where the Scottish pikemen got killed by the English guys with billhooks. And I think the Scottish king at the time was killed. And then there's the other one, isn't there, in the marsh, where the English troops bayoneted to the left or bayoneted to the right, didn't they, like that? So it would stop the charge. But I can't remember which one's which. If you can politely ask Mr. NGC, but what I'll do is if you ask something that I don't really want to chat about, because it might be a bit of a toxic subject, I'll just say, right, let's not talk about that. Yeah, I like the pouch for it. But the thing is, you can't really get it back in the pouch afterwards, can you? But I'm trying to think of something practical I could do with this, like using it for storage. But I mean, something like this is probably actually quite good if you wanted... I suppose the mobile would fit in there. But, like some sort of EDC thing to go on your belt where you could probably fit a mobile, like I could probably put my medication box in there as well, yeah. So I'll definitely try and make use of this, because I actually think this is better than the escape hood itself. That's annoying, Rich. If you don't mind saying, what did they give you? Because I'm sort of interested in that, and just in case it's something I've been given before. Because I know, like, if you're for muscle relaxants, you're given benzos, like benzodiazepine or diazepam, whatever it's called. That will affect how much you can lift up, because benzos are a muscle relaxant. Yeah, I've got an East German greatcoat, and I've got a Czechoslovakian trench coat, and I've got a French trench coat. I think it's a French one. All right, let me Google it, Rich, and see what class of drug it is. Just because that stuff always fascinates me now. Whenever the doctor prescribes me something, I always look up what it does now, because I don't like taking the doctor's word on it. You know, because some doctors will say something's good for you, some are not. Antifungal medication. Oh. Apparently that's for vaginal yeast infection now. So I don't know if that is what you've got, or if it's because it works for something else, Rich. Yeah, the Czech trench coats, when they used to be on UK Amazon and eBay for like £20 were a bargain, but it's one of those ones where lots of people have seen me wear it. They're like, that's a really nice coat, where can I get it? I was like, sadly, they used to be common on Amazon and eBay, and they're just not around now. But yeah, it might be that it actually treats other things as well as that, Rich, or it could be that it's not actually that, but yeah. Because a lot of the things they give you for muscle pain and stuff are benzos, and benzos, like Valium, because Valium's like a brand name, isn't it? A benzodiazepam, and that's the one where it will really stop you, you know, doing stuff, because it just like makes you go ooh floppy. First time I was given benzos was when I was also given codeine by the doctor, and that's a lovely combination. There's one apparently as well that goes really well with those as well. Not that I'd recommend people do that, because that's a really fucking high addiction risk. But oh yeah, Eric. Yeah, like Chris just said, I've only just seen your comment, but yeah, he's the best person to ask, because he likes collecting all that sort of stuff. It's the Klansman radio system, I think it's called, isn't it? It works with, but I don't actually have any of the other bits for it other than the clip-on microphone. Right, should I use a NATO filter or any other filter for a GP5? Well, if you want to use it cosmetically, you can just force a NATO filter on it. But for actually getting a working filter on a GP5 that's safe, you'll need modern GOST filters or modern normalized filters. Right, it's a bit political, not a list, but right, out of the worst of all of those, I'd say is Nazism, just because of how like vile and racist it was, and you know, all their crazy fucking mystical ideas. So that's at the bottom of the shit pile, Nazism. Then like obviously Stalinism and Maoism are pretty low down on the list of being awful to live under. In terms of what are the better ones, either Tito-style communism or probably Italian or Spanish fascism, because they at least kind of survived as countries for quite a while and had working economies. But I still rather live in a libertarian country where, you know, the government doesn't control everything I say and think. All right, Stug? Right, at the moment, I've not drunk much recently, just because where I'm on methapam hydrochloride as a painkiller now, you have to be really careful about drinking with that, because when you drink alcohol and you're on it, it makes you feel really strange. It's hard to explain what it makes you feel like, but because, you know, with some drugs, it's like obviously, and when I'm on about drugs, I'm on about legally prescribed things by a doctor, just in case anybody's wondering and listening. With some drugs, you have to be very careful about taking alcohol with them because of like the risk of overdosing on the drug, because it basically concentrates the effect of the alcohol or the, you know, like painkillers or whatever. With nefapam, it just kind of makes you feel like you're having an out-of-body experience, which is really, really strange. That's interesting, Richard. Well, I hope that's working for you then. But yeah, I suppose it's using to treat like another thing, isn't it? Yeah, it's strange why it would make you feel really weak. As I said, the only time I've ever felt really weak was when I was given benzos, like, you know, other than times where you might be really ill with something. And that was just because benzos are muscle relaxants, so it's harder to actually make your muscles go tense. No, I've not heard of that, Waste Alone. What's it about? I'm afraid, ye old Big ET, I can't read your comment because it's, I assume, in Russian. It looks like Cyrillic, which is pretty... well, if you mean a number 4 Lee Enfield, well, the number 4 SMLE is an SMLE, but do you mean which variation of SMLE? Because they're all short magazine Lee Enfields. The number 4, I think, is the better one, because from what I understand, because I've got the number 1 Mark III Star, I think it is, because Enfield numbers are really confusing with, they didn't like call one number 1, the next one the number 2. They had marks and numbers that jumped all over the place. But from what I understand, the model I've got up there, which is covered in Soviet masks, was replaced by the number 4 because the number 4 was actually slightly more accurate, lighter, and cheaper to produce. So, although a lot of people prefer the look, I think, of the number 1 Mark III, I think the number 4 is all round a better gun, just because obviously, in terms of mass production, you're making something better for a cheaper price. Yep, I would definitely buy that if I was you then, Catus, because yeah, $20 Canadian. Is that like 10 US dollars or like 15 US dollars? Wow, what an amazing price for a C4. Are you talking to me, Mr. NGC, or Richard? If I'm saying why do I feel ill, it's because I have a thing called ulcerative colitis, which is an autoimmune disease. And it will never go away, but they can... basically how it works is the doctors can give you medication to keep it under control, and painkillers to take away the pain it causes, but they can't cure it. So it's kind of a disease that, is monitored and treated, but it can't be cured at the moment. And luckily I respond quite well to the weakest medication to treat it, not as in painkillers, but as in, because there's loads of different classes of drugs they can give you for it. I take a thing called pentamesalamine or something like that it's called. And it's like granules that coat the inside of your colon to prevent your body damaging it. And they work really well for me. So that's the good news, is I'm not, at risk of needing really life-debilitating medications or whatever, or having to have my colon cut out. But, no, I've actually not got any Ushankers. In terms of winter hats, I've got a couple of things, but in general in winter, the thing I like the most is, those kind of like weird sock things. They're like neck socks. You can get like ones used by all sorts of different armies, and they're comfortable and keep your ears warm. When you say FOU, do you mean the Russian ROU one? If you mean that one, I think it was about £20, and that was including the postage. It was damaged during the postage, but luckily not damaged so much it wouldn't work once I glued it together. Right, let me show you, Bartos, because I should have some in my room. And I really like these things. Oh, I've got that check hood as well that might be good for winter. So let me get that one down and show you that as well. But I should. Yeah, here's one. This is an East German one I'm getting down now, but I've got 2 East German ones, and I think my other one might have been a Dutch one. But you can get these on eBay quite cheap. So this is like the neck sock things. They look great with helmets. And this is the Czech NBC hood, which I imagine will keep your head a bit warm as well. But yeah, it's ulcerative colitis I've got. But the reason I had benzos a while ago was because I screwed my back up in like a workplace injury. So they just gave me codeine and benzos until I was able to see a physiotherapist. But yeah, at the moment it's ulcerative colitis, and that's why I'm on Nefapam. But Nefapam, I'm just going to say this now to people, because this is like one of the neck sock things. What I was going to say to people is, if ever you go to the doctor and you have a chronic illness that, isn't going to go away, what you ought to do is, if they want to put you on opioids for chronic pain, see if you can get Nefapam. Because obviously, I'm sure a lot of you know there is lots of problems of giving people opioids for chronic pain. It's a big health thing at the moment. And yeah, the problem is that opioids won't work for long-term pain release because they'll have to keep upping the dose. But where I've got Nefapam now, supposedly your body does not become tolerant to it, and it's not an opioid. It will make you feel very strange at times, but it's not actually an opioid. Oh, that's a very old question. A very good question, sorry. Maybe something that was like, apparently like a very big religious thing. It helps to some degree, Red 92. It does actually help as a painkiller, but the Nefapam works better, and it means I can drive and everything while on that. But anyway, yeah, the point was of this. I'll get a Yugoslav helmet. I adjusted the liner in this yesterday evening, which took ages to actually get it to sit lower on my head. But yeah, so what these are for, obviously, is you can wear them under helmets as well. So they're designed so, in the winter. But yeah, Waterloo would be a good one, wouldn't it, Wastealona? Assuming that you didn't get shot while watching it or something. Or run over by a horse. Yeah, it's that's where these are quite good in the winter, is you can just wear them like that. But yeah, that's why I adjusted the liner yesterday, so it actually sat lower on my head, so it's covering the bits it's meant to cover. I don't think it does, Potato Farmer, because my S10 balaclava, like flash hood thing, doesn't have a size on its label. So I'd assume that one size fits all, and it will probably fit on the mediums ones easiest, whereas the largest and the smallest, it might seem a bit tight or a bit too baggy. 20 to 30 pounds DMN, that's at least the price they normally are in the UK. No, this isn't Chinese, this is a Yugoslavian Stauhelm. So M5985, but you can see it's actually pretty similar to the German World War II Stauhelms. If you had it in grey, I think it'd be a lot more obvious that it looks like a Stauhelm. It's not identical, but they pretty much copied the Stauhelm design. Avon CT12 is my favourite gas mask. I'd assume Vietnam sort of generation. I'd assume 60s to 80s if I had to sort of say. But again, I don't know because I couldn't find much info out on them. Polish M3. I know which one you would mean by the MC1. And I'd know what the Polish MP4 is. But I wouldn't know what a Polish M3 is. I've seen some people call Shum's Polish M3 masks for some reason. But sadly, it won't let you put links on live chats, Wastealona. Yeah, hopefully it does work, Rich, because that sounds horrible if you have to be kept in hospital for 8 weeks, essentially just being bored out of your mind. I mean, if it's your own good, obviously that is good. But yeah, imagine if you're literally kept in hospital. That would be really, really boring, wouldn't it? Right, let me go through all the Polish gas masks I have. I have the Polish MC1. I have the Polish SR1 casualty mask. I have the Polish MP4, MP4B, Polish MP5, Polish MUA, and the Polish SHM41 derivative, which is the OM14. Do I have any other Polish masks? Just trying to think. It's got a visor that looks almost like a U, but upside down. Is it a panoramic lens, like a single lens, or is it two separate lenses? Because I know there's that Polish industrial mask that's got the windscreen wiper kind of thing on the front. I've got two Avon C7s. Actually, I don't know if they're both Avons. I have to double check. But C7 masks, which are the British civilian masks of the Cold War, which they started production of and then said, oh, wait, fuck it. The civilians are all going to die anyway. Recall and destroy them. The OM14, the voice diaphragm's the MUA, not a list. Although I think technically the MUA might be the name for one variant, and then the industrial variant or the military one actually has a different name. Because I think some are like plastic. Right, I wouldn't have bought one unless I liked it, Trap Beats. There you go. So commie-themed thumbnail, I guess, there. Well, I've got the PPM88, which is, I guess, a derivative of the GP9. The annoying thing is my one's broken. The voice diaphragm's on it's broken. Other than that, it seems quite a good mask. It's certainly better, I'd say, than the GP7 or PMK1. D&B Militaria, which is a place you can buy deac guns. It's where those two deac grenades on there are from. Well, I've actually got 4 deac grenades now, but all of those from D&B Militaria. But the SLR was from there, the Lee Enfield's from there. The RPK that's down there is also from there. And the M1 carbine I've got on the opposite wall, you can't see, is from there as well. I wouldn't mind a musket, but the problem is, the good thing is at least you can buy replica muskets in the UK because they fall before the replica bans. But if I wanted to get a real musket, because you could own that without a license, I'd have to get one that was, you know, sensibly priced and everything, and it wouldn't be an antique I'd smash up by accident. Oh, okay, that's interesting, Chris. Thanks for letting me know. But yeah, so is it just a PPM 88 then? Or is it, when people say GP9s, they mean some other masks as well? Yeah, Israeli gas masks are fine. I've got a 4A1 and an M15, and both of those are fine. Yeah, Max has a replica Brown Bess, and that's really nice. I think that's a Denix one, but sadly, obviously, because Blades and Bows aren't around anymore, you can't buy it from them. But there might be other places like Battle Orders which still stock them. But yeah, that his one's really nice because it still has like this working socket where you can fit a bayonet on. And even though obviously it's replica, they've got a replica functioning bayonet for it, which is quite cool. Okay, Briz 4301. Let me look that one up. All right, cool. I wonder which one I've got. If I've got the Briz one or if I've got the PPM 88. I'd assume mine's a PPM 88 because the Briz one looks a bit more modern, but it's weird. Some of the Briz 4301s coming up have bigger panoramic lenses, it seems, than the others, unless I'm just being stupid. It seems like some have a panoramic lens that goes to like there on the mask, and others that have one that go to about there. I've got quite a lot of knives. Origami, Lego Dragon. What particular kind are you interested in? Real but deactivated, as in it would never shoot again. That's why you can own it as a civilian in the UK. You can still see there's Cosmoline and everything in there. It's got the little buffer there, which is the most expensive part to make it a PPSH, apparently. The retarder, whatever it's called. The bit, you know, for the open bolt cycling properly. Yeah, so what they've done is obviously just welded it and cut bits in the barrel and all that, so it won't ever work again. Swiftblade. Well, if you mean a switchblade, they are actually illegal in the UK. I mean, I've got things like little flip knives that have locks on. I fucked that up, didn't I? There we go. These are perfectly legal, but not to everyday carry on you. You need an excuse to have a lock knife on you. Things like Swiss Army knives, completely fine to carry around on you. That's interesting, Catus, that you've had that happen to yours. Somebody else was saying to me the other day they've had one of theirs mount. Mine hasn't melted yet, thankfully. But I wonder if it was a certain production run of them that melted, or if they come into contact with like a certain chemical, it begins the melting process. Yeah. Be good though, wouldn't it, Rich, getting a replica blunderbuss though? They would look good. I'd definitely want to get some replica up. The thing is with some of the replica guns is they're much better price than the deacs. Yeah, sadly, a lot of the deactivated Mossins are really expensive. Like when I've looked, they're £300 or £400. Where for that price, like you can get a PPSH cheaper than that. You know, and it seems strange to me. The price of deactivated guns does not make sense in the UK in terms of like what costs what. So generally, I find it's work out what budget you want to spend on one, and then see what's the coolest looking gun as you can buy for that price. I'm pretty sure I wore the MP5 in that video, Waste the Loner. That'd be the Polish MP5. I've been thinking about getting a PPS 43, but what I want to do regarding deacs is see if Britain ever eventually leaves the EU. Because most deac gun sites have said when we leave the EU, in theory, they should be able to sell cheaper deacs again that aren't as deactivated. As in, you know, like ones that still let you remove the mags and pull the charging handle back and all that sort of stuff. So I'd probably wait to see what happens with the Brexit stuff first, just so I can get, in that case, a PPS 43 probably a lot cheaper. Right. Did you Google a particular thing to find it? Because if you did, I might be able to at least you know, sorry, I forgot to put my thing on there, and then I've just seen I've had a message that I ought to reply to, but I only need to go on for another 20 or so minutes down on the stream. Most of the pistols I got that Denix did were about 60 to 70 quid rich. Oh, the rifles, muskets, yeah, I was going to say, because they're a lot bigger, aren't they? But yeah, do you know, Waste Aloner, what you've typed in? Because if you know what I can type in, I can search the same thing. Okay, right. She about 90 something, Mr. NGC. I actually don't know. That shows how much of a good subject it is. I am, and I don't know how old the Queen is. I still like the Queen more than a lot of the politicians, but you know, I'm not a massive fan of all of them, to be honest. Says that sounds like a threat now, doesn't it? Commie hat on with a commie machine gun, submachine gun. I don't like the Queen. They'll probably put that on a picture of a tabloid. Corbyn supporting terrorist, waving his PPSH. Oh no, I'm getting too political now, aren't I? Even though I don't like Corbyn. I'm glad you find the videos fun, Myced, if I'm pronouncing your name right. Good you've learned a lot like Apple as well. It is the MP5. There you go. Because when you said you wore it in that video, I was like, I wore the MP5, didn't I? So what, are you saying you bought a really cheap gas mask for a lot of money, Origami? Or were you saying you then got a cheap mask afterwards? That's all right. But yeah, the interesting Polish mask. Let me just Google the name of this. Polish. I think Gas Mask Lexicon has it on there. Let's have a look. Whereabouts is Poland on here? Am I being really dumb, or can I not see Poland on Gas Mask Lexicon? Oh no, it's just really far over to the right. The one I am thinking of is the GSPM made by Phaser. Let me just link to a picture of it. There you go. That was the mask I was thinking of when I was wondering if that's what you meant. One with a little windscreen wiper on it. It needs to have colorized afterwards, Chris, but yeah, it's exactly that. I'm glad you enjoyed the video, Scott. Like, the thing is, saying I just do it out of the stuff I find interesting. But in general, I just find a lot of military history interesting, and some of it, like the quite old stuff, like medieval stuff and, you know, stuff like that. But, you know, it's just whatever I find interesting, I just like to talk about sort of as a hobby, and then it's good that other people will then enjoy it as well. The thing is, because I'm in the UK, it's quite hard to do videos about lots of firearms stuff as well, because, you know, unlike the US or whatever, it's very hard to, you know, be able to go out and shoot a lot of like modern firearms. That's good, Bolton. But yeah, sadly, I've had loads of people recently spamming the video comments saying, "You're lying, GP5 filters perfectly safe, contain no asbestos." It's like, oh dear. No, I don't have a Russian cloak that can turn into a tent, but it sounds pretty cool. I think people have sent me pictures of things like that before, like Polish ones as well. But yeah, I assume the one for miners has a filter on, doesn't it? And the one for firefighters is like the one I linked the picture of that uses the hoses. Because yeah, there's ones that just have a 40mm Ghost thread on the front. GSPM, and then oh, so it's a licensed, is it? Draeger GTG RM 1054. That's interesting. I did not know that. Oh, that's weird. I've just seen the Draeger GTGR. I'm just going to link to a picture of this, but does it remind anybody else of a CT12 or an S10 from the face piece? Like, not where the filter attaches and everything, but if I just paste this. Does that picture remind anybody of an S10? Because that's weirding me out now. Like, the top half of that looks like an S10, just with different straps to me. Very strange. Yeah, I mean, it's a clever idea, isn't it? So you can clean the inside and the outside from fogging up. It's a clever idea, but I guess it was a bit of an impractical design. That's why it wasn't really kept on masks. Now, I've only got the PMK1 and the GP7. I don't have the PMK2 or the PMK3 or the PMKS. Yeah, that's what I was thinking, Chris. Weirdly, in the video I was doing on my French C38, I was holding that at one angle, and I said in the camera viewfinder it looked exactly like an S10, because the voice diaphragm exhale valve cover thing ends up looking like an S10's one at the right angle. And then, like if you're holding it like that, because you can't see the filter ports, the eyepieces and the filter thing looks the same. But yeah, obviously, yeah, for firefighters, they'd have an air tank connected to it because you need to have air tanks connected to firefighters' masks because you can't filter the smoke. But for miners, I guess they can use a filter, can't they? Unless they actually need the oxygen as well. Yeah, S10 or CT12, FM12 sort of look. At least the top half, the bottom half doesn't. But well, it depends what you want to spend or if you want to collect them. Because the thing is, like, the Israeli gas masks are absolutely fine, but it depends how much they cost wherever you are, how many are available, what shape face you've got, because that's another thing. But personally, I like the Israeli masks, but they're not the best masks in my opinion. The M15 is quite good, like a 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10 mask. The 4A1's probably like a 6 out of 10 mask, but they're definitely not the best masks ever. My favourite gas mask is still the Avon CT12, because that gets asked several times every stream. So the answer is still CT12. Well, I'm pretty much at that number now, so I don't think it's going to stop now. I mean, it will slow down and speed up depending on what I can find available at the time for decent prices. But at the moment, I've been buying some night vision stuff. Oh, that reminds me, as soon as this stream ends, I need to send an email to that Russian store and ask for an update if they've actually dispatched that night vision I bought weeks ago or not. I think the S10 and The Last of Us had like one strap at the top middle, didn't it? Rather than the two straps at the top, like a 5-point harness, not a 6-point harness. Yeah, PPSH time. I did have the French helmet on earlier. Shot zombie, let me show you it again. Seeing as you like tank helmets. Well, it's not a Russian tank helmet, so maybe you won't like it. Right. But yes, to answer the question earlier, these are the nice neck sock things I like. They're good when it's cold weather. You can actually wear them under other cold weather hats as well. So yeah, this is that French armored fighting vehicle tank helmet thing, which I guess is like a design that was probably phased out around the 80s or very early 90s. But if I can just get that through there. I'd say it's a better quality construction than a lot of the Russian ones, but the problem is obviously it's not got the headphones in it. So for that reason, it's kind of not as good. But in terms of it's pretty good. That's cool. But if you like doing stuff like that, cyber is quite cool. I like the things where people who've got enough land build their own kind of bunkers or like little fallout trenches in their garden. That's always quite funny. Which Russian one, cyber? If you mean like the Russian tank helmets back there. I assume it's Russian. Let's have a look, shot zombie, and see what markings are on it. That's the main sort of mark there. If that will focus. So 44 by the look of it. Let's just see if there are any other marks on it. It says 7377 on the stock. But yeah, that looks like a Cyrillic kind of thing there. An eagle on it. I'm trying to see now. There's a very small, yeah. It looks like 2 swords, 0, 15, or something, or 19. It looks like cross swords, not an eagle to me. But I don't know if I can hold that up close enough that it will focus. Hang on. Oh, yeah, it's like 2 cross swords, I think. Or is that PL it says there, like Poland? Well, I suppose that would be the wrong way around, wouldn't it? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's if it will focus. Come on. No, I don't think the webcam's going to focus on it again. Oh, cool, it is Soviet made. But yeah, it was only like 200 quid, because at one point you could buy deac PPSHs in the UK for like 200. But the stamp isn't Soviet. That's interesting. I think, I don't know if this is completely true, but I think with some deac guns, they have to put a little mark on it when they've deac'd them. Unless this was then sold from the Soviet Union to somewhere else and then they put their little mark on it. But yeah, it's hard to see what the stamp's of. I'll have to see if I can take like a macro picture of it at some point and put on the Discord. But yeah, to me it looks like 2 cross swords with maybe a little bit of lettering on it. Your sawn-off has an EU proof mark, okay. Well, PPSHs are sort of beautiful. They're just kind of very practical, aren't they? And then the PPS 43 came along because PPSH is not cheap enough to mass produce. Make something even cheaper to mass produce. Okay, so like what, Finland bought a load after World War II or something? Because it's definitely not a Suomi, is it? SMG, it's definitely a PPSH 41. So yeah, that's strange, but yeah, so maybe it's one where the Finns bought a load after World War II through what, reservists or something. But yeah, interesting. Or it's just somehow turned up somewhere else before it's been deactivated. Oh yeah, bought it or captured it in the continuation war. That's a good point. But yeah, interesting stuff like that, isn't it? When you've got multiple marks on something. I very rarely see fortune cookies, even when I go to Chinese restaurants. But maybe one, if it said something like, do they actually have bad fortune cookies? As in like ones that say you're going to get something bad happen to you? Well, it's a tank helmet. So just to prove it's protective, hang on. Yeah, it works. So yeah, it's not designed to protect your head from shrapnel or anything like that. Yeah, help. So saying that, Shot Zombie, there was something that made me laugh, which is probably a thing I'll go to hell for. But apparently there was a thing where somebody bought some trousers in Primark, which is like a really cheap UK and Irish, and like it's in Scotland, well, but you know, like UK kind of based company that sells like discount clothing, and Primark stuff's generally fine. But apparently somebody found in the pocket of the jeans like a message saying like, help me, they're forcing me to work or something. I've got a few Nerf guns and I've done videos on them, but what about if the waiter was about to give you a massive tip, you know, and not tip as in money? He's just going to give you the tip. Yep, Soldier of Fortune, the really old gory one, but this is going back yonks, isn't it? Like very early 2000s, late 90s. Was Soldier of Fortune 2 the gorier one, though? Although I'm sure by today's standards, it's not even that gory, is it? But I know it's the one the media made a fuss about at the time. Yeah, this works quite well. No, I didn't manage to find a copy of it, unfortunately, Stug. As I said, it looked interesting because it was directed by that bloke who did Turkey Shoot, but I wasn't able to find a copy anywhere. Oh, yeah, well, Manhunt, I definitely know because I've got Manhunt on PC. And Manhunt, yeah, because it was with Manhunt, some mentally handicapped kid beat another kid to death with a hammer, didn't he? And then they said because this kid played Manhunt, the game made him do it, even though it was blatantly that the kid was mentally disturbed and was eventually just going to go out and murder somebody anyway because he should have been sectioned. Right, see you, Malik. It's called Pennies in Ireland. Ah, okay. Yeah, I think I've heard it called that. So yeah, that would make sense. Favorite World War II tank, probably just Sherman in terms of practicality. But yeah, the point is where people are saying, does the tank helmet protect you? Oh, that was a bit hard that time. Made me bite my teeth, but yeah, it does protect you. But yeah, I always end up getting into arguments with people when they say Shermans are shit because they think, they constantly believe the thing of, oh, Sherman would set on fire the moment anything looked at it. Even though late model Shermans actually had very good survivability rates, and they were mass produced. Because I think the Sherman and T-34 were the two most mass produced tanks of World War II, weren't they? And the survivability of Shermans was a hell of a lot better than T-34s. Yep. Yeah, that's the funniest thing, isn't it, Stug? That there's that tank museum or World of Tanks thing, whatever it is, of, oh no, the tank's on fire. And the Sherman is actually the fastest one to get out of. So, despite the reputation of the Sherman being a death trap, it's one of the best tanks to be in if you need to bail out. Yeah, I remember all the one where they were saying that because somebody shot somebody in a car, they learned how to do it on Grand Theft Auto. What was the name of that lawyer? That American lawyer with the crazy hair. Somebody Thompson, wasn't it? Who kept trying to sue people. I personally prefer halberds. Jack Thompson, yeah. I personally prefer halberds, although the billhook's my favourite. But again, it's completely down to what one you're more comfortable using, because there's so many different types of swords and polearms. I've got Insurgency Sandstorm, but I haven't played much of it so far. Right, see you, Wastelona. But yeah, what I can tell you, though, is that this does, prevent your head from getting bashed in like it's meant to, so... Is Hatred the one that was made by that Polish developer? I've got Hatred, but I've never played it yet. I think I bought it in a Steam sale, but wasn't that another one that was just a completely miscalculated controversy because it was meant to be an edgy game, and then they're like, look how edgy this game is. The Sherman is good enough as it is. It does not need the modification. I think Germany at one point in the war would have been pretty much stealing anything they could get, considering the dire situation they were in. I've played Company of Heroes 2. I've got Company of Heroes 1, but I prefer Company of Heroes 2, but I never ended up playing all that much of it. I generally, with RTS games, like the older ones, like Stronghold, the old Command and Conquers, and all that sort of thing. Age of Empires 2. I don't know why newer RTS games I've never been as much into. Yeah, and the security forces have the M50, don't they? Because somebody said that in a YouTube comment, and I looked it up and was like, oh, it is an Avon M50, okay. Yeah, well, that's exactly it, isn't it, Alex? Even the people who were around at the time are probably going to really like or hate the tank they used. But, it's that sort of thing, isn't it? Because, like, my granddad, because he had to destroy tanks in World War II, talked about how, scary tigers were. But, like, what Shot Zombies just said with the Panthers breaking down, that's the other side of it, isn't it? As much as you have loads of armor and really scary guns on Tigers and Panthers, they weren't very good tanks in terms of logistics of running very well. Well, I'm not sure what the Peterson device is, but wasn't there apparently a really good gyroscopic stabilizer in the Sherman, but very few Sherman crews were actually trained how to use it? And supposedly, if all the Sherman crews had been trained how to use it, it would have had a much better killed-to-death ratio. Ferdinand. Which one's the Ferdinand? I know they had a couple of massive tanks, like the Elephant and all those, or Oliphant, whatever they'd have called it. The Rat and the Mouse and all those. That's cool shots on me. Mine was Royal Artillery. I can't remember which regiment, but he started off with a 25-pounder as a gunner, like an all-round artillery gun. Then later was moved to a 17-pounder. So that was for tank killing. Yeah, it's weird that the Russians like the Valentine so much, considering British tanks had a reputation for being shit in World War II. The Ferdinand and the Elephant are the same, right? Yeah. So it's the big tank destroyer thing, isn't it? The Stug's one of my favourite German tanks, even though it's not really a tank, is it? Sturmgeschütz assault gun. But I just like the Stug because it was actually a practical vehicle. What's the most famous tank duel? Is that one on the Western Front or whatever? Because, I mean, obviously the Battle of Kursk is a pretty big tank duel, wasn't it? What's the Western one you're thinking of? I suppose in the Battle of the Bulge, there's probably some tank combat as well. I'm probably just being really dumb and not thinking of the obvious answer. Well, in terms of amount of people killed, World War II was a lot worse. In terms of, like sitting in a trench, getting trench foot while shells rain down, World War I was probably worse. But all right, cool. I'll have to actually look that up. Shots on me. I probably have seen it before, and I'm just going blank. Yeah, exactly, Richard. That's the thing. It's if you could outfit at least everybody with a pitchfork, they've at least got a weapon. It's a case of, can you give everybody a good weapon, or everybody an adequate weapon, or some people having a good weapon and not enough people having any weapons? And in general, everybody having at least something adequate is better than a few people having good weapons and everybody else having no weapons, like you say. That's cool. Very cool shot on me. I'll have to find that clip, or you can post it on the Discord or whatever. But yeah, I think I may have. I think I may know Panther Pershing duel. Oh, it's actually Battle of Cologne tank duel. Is it this one? Yeah, I've seen pictures of this before, but I don't think I've ever seen the full video of it. So I've found a few like 7 and 10 minute videos now, so I'll watch them when the stream ends. No, I am not American, I'm English. That's a bit ominous sounding, says Roman. I'm coming for you. Yeah, Fireflies are really cool. The thing I found interesting with the Fireflies is that they camoed only a bit of the barrel to make them look like the shorter barrel Shermans without the 17-pounder on it. So they wouldn't immediately get shot because, obviously the Germans knew the Sherman Firefly was a lot more dangerous than conventional Shermans. All right, Roman. Goodbye. I did like the PPSH the Russians had in Red Orchestra too, because I found if you set that to semi, it was actually just very good for spamming fire at things. What do you mean by the shark plane? Because there was quite a few planes they painted shark mouths on, like the sort of intakes for them, like the air intake sort of radiator area. Is that King Cobra P-51? Or that's the Mustang, isn't it, the P-51? I don't know why. My mind is going blank now with plane names and tank names. P-45's the Thunderbolt, isn't it? With the US ones, obviously. Britain had Spitfires, Hurricanes, Typhoons, Tornadoes, and all those. No, I've never heard of Bomber Crew. I think it's 71 rounds Iron Man, but I'm never going to bother buying enough inert rounds to fully load this up. But yeah, it was pretty high capacity, but the stick sort of box mags were better on the PBSH because they jam less often. Oh, so that's like a biplane and the Blackburn Shark. I know wasn't there one battle in World War II where the fairy swordfish or something did really, really well against some German ships or something. Was that a katana shot zombie, or is it another kind of sword, like an officer's dress sword or something? Oh yeah, Dazzle camo it's called, Richard. It works like zebra's stripes. The idea is it's hard to see how far the ships are away, like what size they are. The idea isn't that it hides the ship from sight. The idea is that, it's hard to see what kind of ship it is or the distance. Yeah, there's a thing on the Forgotten Weapons video, isn't there? The magazine in my PPSH really doesn't fit it very well. Like, if I try and pull this out, look, I'll do the mag release. Here we go. Right, pull the mag release out. You can see that's a bit dusty on that mag. But there you go. That's the mag out. Then put the mag back in. Yeah, you get the idea with this. There we go. So yeah, this mag just fits in the gun and can be released from the gun, but you can't do it quickly. All right, I'll look up Bomber Crew at some point. I'm going to have to go off in a couple of minutes. Yeah, 7.62 by 25mm. Tokarev round, the one that can also still shoot through modern body armor just by the fluke of it being steel core, isn't it? And the fact it's got quite a fast velocity. Tell them that if they pay you enough shot zombie, they can have it back. Do what Britain does, where we years ago got stuff from lots of other countries, and now those countries get very angry and demand we give it back for free. And we're just like, no. I can't remember which country it was, but there was one recently that's actually in a war or something, or, has like constant terrorist attacks, and they were demanding we give them back some valuable treasures, even though the terrorists in the country would blatantly just dynamite them, because this offends LR or something, I don't know. But, it was one of those kind of funny things. Like, I just blatantly be like, no, fuck off, you're not having them back because they'll get destroyed. They belong in a museum. Yeah, exactly. That's the thing, isn't it? I never get that where something happened, historically, where something was bought legally, or a country lost it in a war with another country, and then they start whinging today, give it back, give it back, give it back. I'll visit Ireland at some point. But yeah, I mean, I'd be more interested in seeing a republic, to be honest, than Northern Ireland. Type 90 helmet. Depends which nation it was that used it. I'd assume it's China or Japan, is it, if it's called Type, rather than like M. Oh, yeah, that I recognise that, the Japanese helmet from World War II. Yep. Or one of the Japanese helmets from World War II. Yeah, I've never seen one for sale, but I do know the helmet when I looked it up. Yeah, exactly. It belongs in a museum. That's cool shots on me. Some of my family are Irish, but obviously the sad thing is we never see them. Oh, MP40s were 9mm though, weren't they? But wasn't 7.62 Tokarev meant to just kind of be a Soviet copy of 7.63 Mauser, like the pistol ones anyway? That's cool, Art Changer. Anyway, I'll be off in a minute. Is that actually Guinness is your picture? I was wondering if it's a pint of Guinness as your picture. I can't see it very big, though. Because I thought to start with it might have been somebody wearing a hat, but is it a pint of Guinness or some other sort of strong ale? But anyway, I'll be off in a minute because I do need to go in a minute. That's why I started streaming a bit earlier tonight. Yeah, it's because the pictures are like the size of my thumbnail. You know, they are literally thumbnails on here looking at the pictures. So, like, yeah, is that a Guinness? But yeah, nice. Right, I will be off, though, in a minute, as said, because I've got stuff I need to do. But isn't it E-I-R-E, technically? If you're Irish, like the spelling. Or am I imagining that, like, E-I-R-E? Yeah, so it is E-I-R-E. Yeah, that's what I thought it was. Yeah, but now, give it back. Give it back, Shot Zombie. Give it back. You don't own it. Give it back. Give it back. You stole it. Give it back. Right, anyway, I'll be off. Yeah, thanks, everybody. This has actually been a really good stream tonight. We had a good chat, and it didn't all turn into politics of my country is better than your country, or my favourite politician is better than your favourite politicians, which are like the most boring shit streams ever. But they're not going to have it, are they, Shot Zombie? Because they don't deserve it. Right, so yeah, thanks everybody, and I may not stream tomorrow as it's Thursday tomorrow, so I'll be volunteering, so it might be that I want to have a day off streaming tomorrow. But if I've got the energy at some point in the afternoon or evening, I'll do a stream. But yeah, right, see everybody. Right, goodbye when I work out where the end stream button is. There it is. Right, bye.